Thank you, Dr. Kim, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at our Hospitality Coffee Conversations networking event today, where the goal is to give you a chance to connect with a hospitality industry professional. Hosting today's event is the National Society of Minorities in Hospitality. My name is Yen Nguyen, and I'm the president of the Georgia State chapter. And today we have a very special guest speaker whom I have the pleasure of introducing to our attendees, Ms. Ivy Mpofu. Ms. Ivy is one of our board members at the School of Hospitality, and she's currently the general manager of the Hilton Garden Inn Atlanta downtown, a 242-room contemporary hotel in the heart of Atlanta's vibrant Centennial Park District. She has had extensive experiences in the hospitality industry, spanning close to 2 decades, holding various management positions across several properties over the years. Ms. Ivy has seen her career go from front office manager at the Omni Hotel at TNN Center to director of guest services at the historic Georgian Terrace Hotel in Midtown, assistant general manager of the Embassy Suites at Centennial Olympic Park, and most recently, general manager of the Doubletree at North Lake before joining the Hilton Garden Inn. So before we jump into the Q&A session, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of how this event is going to work. This session is going to take around 45 minutes, and we want to have as many of your questions answered as we possibly can. We would love to hear from you, so if you're comfortable when it's time to start asking questions, please let us know in the chat box and we will let you know when to unmute yourself if you're comfortable doing so. Otherwise, you can always use the chat box to send us your questions. And so when you're ready to chat, just briefly introduce yourself, stating your name, your career interest, before you start with the questions. Without further ado, let's get started. Ms. Ivy, thank you so much for joining us here today. And I'm sure that everyone on the call is excited to get to know more about you and also to connect with you on a professional level. To warm up the Q&A session a little bit, I would like to ask you a pretty casual and kind of personal question. Can you tell us more about your career journey and how you got started in hospitality?
Yeah, thank you, Yen. Everybody, really nice to be with you this morning. I know it's freezing cold, but I think we're going to have a really great session. I'm here to bring you news about what's happening on the ground. So if you're interested in what is happening inside the hotel, I'm here to share a little bit about my day-to-day. My career path has been one that's just, it's when I look at it back today, I think, wow, how did we get here? I started off school, I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, then went to university at Rhodes University in South Africa. So spent another huge chunk of my life. I actually worked in South Africa for a bit, worked in Zimbabwe, worked in South Africa, and now working here in the States. At university, I studied chemistry and biochemistry. I did a double major, and the idea was for me to go into chemistry and become an analytical chemist. And at some point, I did work as a chemist until I decided, no, this just was not exciting enough. Several things were red flags in my career that made me decide, okay, I want to change and get into hospitality. Got a call from a friend who I had worked during university. I had done some part-time jobs as front desk agent in South Africa and then also here in the States. At some point, and I had a call from a friend who said, hey, you want to come and join our team? And so I jumped in both feet and ended up rising pretty quick. When you enjoy what you do and you put in 100%, you end up where you want to end up. It's all about the amount of effort and work you want to put into it. So that's pretty much my story, how I ended up at this point.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy, for that answer. Yeah, that's really interesting. sure that maybe a few of the students on the call here today also like kind of have the same background as you, like working like in non-hospitality and like now like transitioning to the industry. So I know that we have Kiana who wants to ask Miss Ivy a question. Kiana, would you mind unmuting yourself?
Yes. Hi, Miss Ivy. My name's Kiana Russell. I don't know if you remember me from the industry board in our sidebar conversation. How you doing?
I'm good, Kiana. Nice to hear from you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Trying to stay warm.
Yeah, that's right.
So one of the questions that I thought was interesting, you told me when we spoke before that you are very passionate about knowing all facets of the industry. And I actually thought about the event side. And I wanted to know, as far as you go when it comes to interfacing with guests, what is one of the things that you would encourage us to do to overcome guest challenges? You know, guests complaining, guests being upset about something in particular, or just how to combat with the pressure of working in customer service and interfacing with guests so personally.
I think in any industry, Kiana, really it's about having empathy towards the situation that you're in. When we try to pretend like we are not going to take ownership, or we don't really understand what your issue is, or it's just something else that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, I think that's when guests or any customer gets upset. But when I sympathize and I understand and I empathize with where you're at, I think it goes a long way. So one of the first steps that we try to teach the agents when they're coming in, or any member of our team, is listen first, and then really try to show empathy and have empathy with what they're dealing with, and then just find a solution. Apologizing without finding a solution is a problem. You can't just tell me you're so sorry and move on. So empathy, putting yourself in their shoes is really the key to dealing with any guest situation. I'll tell you right now, one of the challenges that we're faced with is our clientele has changed, right, from being corporate guests and business travel, which was what was going on before COVID. And our corporate clients just, have business credit cards. They don't have to think twice about whether they have money for their stay or not. Now what we're faced with is a lot of leisure guests. These are people that are with their families and they're traveling, and they don't have as much money as your corporate business traveler, and every penny counts. So when they are concerned about how much their parking is, or they're concerned about how much you're going to hold on their card, you really have to be patient to explain it and empathize. It's not helpful to just say, well, you shouldn't be in here if you can't afford it, because that's not the answer to it. It's how do I help you try to get a solution to your situation, especially when funds are so tight while you're here in the hotel. So yes, understanding what the need is and empathizing with the guest is one of the ways that we can help guests with issues.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. And this is not going to be our last time meeting with each other either.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. Absolutely. I'm hoping that at some point down the line, we get to work together, Kiana. I really do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kiana, for such a interesting question. I'm sure that everyone is gonna find like Ms. Ivy's answers like very helpful, because I think we need empathy in almost like every sides of our life, not just like for customer facing positions. So now moving on to the next question. As all of us here know by now, Ms. Ivy is currently working as a hotel general manager, which is probably the position that every hospitality student has dreamed of, but not really know much about. So Ms. Ivy, what's your day-to-day routine look like at the Hilton Garden Inn?
Interesting question, and it's funny because yes, before I got into GM role, I used to wonder myself what happens in the GM's office every day. It's changed a bit though, pre-COVID and post-COVID, but the way I operate has kind of remained the same. Coming in the morning first is our number one is to take a look at the hotel from the guest perspective. So I do a property walk, which is all the way from this building has got the 15th floor all the way down to the basement area. I really want to see first thing at 7 in the morning, what is my guest looking at? I don't want anyone to come out of their room and walk into something that I'm not aware of as they're trying to check out. So you do a property walk. That also what that day looks like, what groups are coming in. We have a lot of weddings in Ventanas. That's the event space on top of the hotel. So we will be talking about the wedding guests that are coming in, brides that are coming in. We also have a helipad, which is on top of the hotel, and a lot of brides will land on for their weddings. And so we talk about checking the helipad to make sure everything is good for the landing and takeoff when that's happening. And then we kind of get going with our shifts. I handle guest issues. Anybody who wants to escalate them, we try to train our team to have, like Omni talks about the power of one, which dealing with issues and for them to resolve it. But sometimes you do have guests that just want to talk to the GM. So I will be handling guest issues. And then I'm a big liaison between my corporate team, the ownership, and the hotel staff. So I'm responding to what ownership needs from me. I control the budget. I control our finances. I control revenues. So once a week, I have a revenue call. We talk about what's going on in the market, right? We talk about what's going on with our competitors. One of the things that hotels do is that they get to choose a group of hotels that they compete with and they're comparing themselves to, and that's how we measure our success. So I'm always trying to take a look, what are their rates? What are they selling at today? What is their occupancy? So what should I sell at today? Do I need to bring my rates down? Is my occupancy good? Do I have a group coming in that might have an issue with a rate that I'm selling out there? So if we have a wedding group that's coming in and the rate for the wedding group for that day is, I don't know, $200 for the night, but they can go on Expedia and book a room for $100. Is that going to be a problem? So let me take a look at that and see if I can fix that before it becomes an issue. And then kind of as things go on, be following up. I do a big chunk of my day is checking. The stuff that I gave out yesterday to get done, was it done? So I'm going through those lists and following up. And that's really a big chunk of my day. We also have here at HTI an open door policy. It never used to have, it wasn't as much, but now more than ever, team members that just want to talk. Life is very stressful. A lot of people are very stressed out. Things are happening all the time, and team members just want to have somebody to hear them out. A lot of the time, it's got nothing to do with what's going on in the hotel. It's got to do with family life and children and just the stress of COVID, and people just want to vent. So a chunk of my day really goes to just listening to team members. What is it that you want to talk about? Because if our team, they deal with people, right, in hospitality, and if you have got an issue or you're burdened and you're not happy, you're not going to make our guests happy. And so we try to see what we can do to help you, to get you into that place where you feel positive and you're good to our guests, and so that they can have a great experience. So I wouldn't call it counseling, but just listening to team members as well. Yeah.
Thank you for a very insightful answer. What amazes me is that I'm in Dr. Cannon's class right now, and I'm sure that every senior hospitality student will have to go through this class to graduate, and we learn about competitive sets. And the fact that you like mentioned that you use that every day, it just like blows my mind. Like I don't know that you have to use it every day. I thought just like a monthly thing, but that's really interesting. And also like the fact that you mentioned about like your job as someone who like listens to your so-called like internal customers, like your staff. And I think that's something that needs to be talked more about. Like, and as a hospitality student who would like to work in the industry someday, I think that's something that they should be able to work on.
Yeah, yeah, and your comp set, and you'll find out once you get into the industry now more than ever. When we used to have a lot of conventions, it wasn't, yes, we still used to compare ourselves, but the city controls a lot of what was going on in our hotels. Now that you don't have the big citywide conventions happening and throughout this year, now we really are very aggressive with what is happening with our competitors. If next door at the Hyatt Place they were 80% last night and I was only 20%, that's a problem. I've got to figure out why. Who did they have in there? How did they get them in there? And what do I need to do to make sure that by the end of the week, I have reached up to their occupancy level? So knowing what your neighbors and competitors are doing is a huge part of what we do now, especially with the leisure travel.
Mhm. So now we can move on to the next question. As we have mentioned in the beginning of the session, Miss Ivy has had almost 2 decades working in the hospitality industry. And so can you tell us maybe your favorite memory or experience about working in the hospitality industry?
That's such a good question. My favorite memory. There's so many. I mean, there's no um, there's no 2 days that are the same in here. It's all changed. But I will tell you of um, when I was at the Georgian Terrace. We had a lot of movie crews and a lot of celebrities that stayed with us at the hotel when they were filming. Georgian Terrace is beautiful, and the rooms are set up because some of they used to be apartments at some point, so they are really ideal for luxury extended stay. Um, and we had, I cannot even remember because I don't go to that movies that often. What movie? But we had Terrence Howard staying with us, and he was very strange because he would do really odd things. He went out once for a walk and came back in with a blind stray cat. It was a little cat that just he had picked up off the street, who knows where. But he stopped by the front desk and said, "Hey, I found this cat. I don't think he can see. I'm going to have him living with me in my room." Everybody was like, "Fine." We were not. He's the talent. We were not going to. We're pet free, but anyway, have the cat. Nobody was going to challenge that. He had the cat in the room, and we have balconies at the Georgian Terrace. And one day he goes off to shoot, and the cat walked off the balcony and fell off and splat, died on the concrete because he was like on the 16th floor. So now there was a huge panic over what are we going to do? Because if Terrence comes back and finds out the cat is dead, are they going to pull production? Is he going to storm off the set and say he's not filming? So does everybody pack up and leave? And so we're thinking of the financial repercussions of the cat dying that we thought, okay, he just picked it up like 2 days ago. Went online, found the closest SPA center, found a little gray cat, which was very similar, but it wasn't blind. And $50, I purchased that little cat, came back, put it back in the room. To this day, Terrence had no idea that we'd switched out. And it was just, it baffles my mind to this day because we kept asking, "How's the cat?" He said, "It's wonderful." But he had no idea to this day that it was a completely different little cat that he had up there. Didn't even notice he could see. So I would say that's one of my favorites.
That's a very, very interesting and funny story. I think like we can only tell these kind of stories like working in the hospitality industry. So we do have another student who wants to ask Miss Ivy a question. Demetrius, if you don't mind unmuting yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Miss Ivy. I'm Demetrius Smith. I'm a sports administration major. I'm sorry my camera is a little messed up right now.
No
Technical
worries,
difficulties,
Demetrius.
but I just had a quick question as far as she told me that the timeline was almost 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, of you working in the in the field. I wanted to know, is there different ways to expedite that time span, maybe? If it's like, is there certain aspects where we could uh, um, I don't know how to quite ask the question. Is there a not a quicker path, but is there, throughout the time that you spent in the hotel field, was there different ways that you were able to gain more of a position? What how did you go through the positions, as to say? How did they say, okay, yes, Miss Ivy, we'd like you to become the general manager rather than just being a field agent?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And that's a good question, Demetrius. So, and I see what you're saying, that you don't want to have to wait 20 years to get to be a GM. Is that
No, not
essentially?
necessarily. I don't want to have to wait, but
Yeah.
is there a different way to get to that position? Different is
Yeah.
there?
So, and I'll tell you, when I was at the Omni, that I moved from being front desk agent, because that was the beginning of my career, to being a supervisor. So within 6 months, I was promoted to being a supervisor. Within 6 months, I was promoted to being assistant front office manager, and within 4 months, I became the front office manager. So at
Right.
that, I was comfortable with moving up really quickly, and that really kind of gave me a lot of confidence and bolted me up. There is more than one route that you can take to get to a GM role if that's what you want to end up doing. There definitely is. You don't have to become front desk, uh, supervisor, manager, and then go into the GM. You can start off in housekeeping and then become an executive housekeeper and then move to the front office and know that area, or move to F&B. There's some that started in sales and moved, just as a sales manager and then became directors of sales and then became GMs. So there's no one in hospitality, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about this field. You can take your own route. Now, with me, honestly, Demetrius, it was really about the time that I felt I was ready. I was offered GM roles or positions in the past, and I felt I wasn't ready. I used to task force for some of our properties within Legacy. Um, Moving to HGI, when I was at the embassy, I was asked when an opportunity came up here, can we move you over to HGI? I wasn't ready. I felt I wasn't ready. One of the things that I learned later on by meeting with other professionals, women within the industry, the Cassell project that I'm a part of really was you never are going to be ready. You just need to go in there and figure it out as you go. So it doesn't have to take you 20 years. You can move up very, very quickly. You dictate the speed at which you're moving, all really by how hard you're prepared to work. You should let your work speak for you. It's, you can sit back and be just, I'm so good, and just say it, but not do it. If you want to do it, and people see that you're doing it, and you're getting your feet wet, and you're getting your hands dirty, and you're getting in there and getting the work done, you can move up really quickly, and it doesn't have to be one set path. There's different paths to get to a GM position.
Okay. Yeah. So I see that from what you're telling me, experience is pretty much the why you went through the different positions as much as you did, just so that you could learn as much as you could. So yeah, thank you so
Absolutely.
much. I understand.
Yeah. Absolutely. And experience in anything, another thing about what's exciting about hospitality, Demetrius, is it doesn't have to be experience within the hotel. So we welcome, so right now, if you take on a part-time job, waitressing or working, at Chick-fil-A or doing whatever, that experience, we want you to use that when you get into hospitality, and we welcome that because in all sorts of fields and all sorts of different areas, it will help us when you get into hospitality or in whatever area you're working within the hotel to become really good. I mean, sometimes, we have to send up guest amenities and we don't really know what that looks like. Does it look good? The guys that have worked in F&B know what that looks like, and they're really good, and they bring that to the table with this amenity should be set up this way, and this is the way we need to present it. So we like that. So with whichever field you happen to be in for a time, know that even if your end goal is to end up in hospitality, or if you have to take something else right now while things are just tight in the job market, know that that's going to help you. And there is something in that that you're going to be able to bring into the hotel field when you get the opportunity to get in.
Okay, right. Thank you, Miss Ivy.
Thank you, Demetrius and Ms. Ivy, for a very interesting conversation. What I find really helpful personally is your advice on, jumping into positions that you might not be ready for. Because I think like a lot of students here on this call today can like relate to that, like reading job descriptions online and just saying like, oh, maybe I'm not like qualified enough. But what you might not like think about is that, oh, like I'm capable of like learning those skills while I'm on the job. So I think that's a really important note. We have Kiana who wants to ask another question to Miss Ivy. So Kiana, can you unmute yourself?
Hey again. I had a question. What are some books or outside resources that you would suggest to help with like leadership and just kind of staying kind of level-headed in the industry? Not specifically hospitality, but just in business in general. What books or like webinars or like TED Talks would you encourage us to get into?
There's two that I've really thought were powerful and have really made an impact on me. One is The Power of Habit. That I think is one of the books that he explains, and it just doesn't apply just to hospitality or leadership, but just how our minds work and how we can end up in a cycle of doing the same thing over and over again, and how, one, it can be an advantage when it comes to controlling or trying to manage a team. If you're looking at excellence times, trying to make it a habit is the way of achieving that. It should be autopilot. When you're driving home, have you ever thought you just all of a sudden are in your car and you've just arrived at home? Like you're on autopilot, somehow your brain can just go into that mode and get you home without having to think about every single step the way that you get home. That kind of autopilot is what we want, right? When it comes to leadership and being in the hotel, we want people that are just, they get in, they know what their place is, they're here to serve, they know how to present great, hospitality to our guests, and they get into autopilot. So that, I think, was really impactful, one, for me to help me in other areas, but also how I can help my team get into that mode of, this is excellence, but excellence shouldn't be something that we're just struggling with. We should get to a point where we're just on autopilot with it, and we're just excellent at what we do. And then the one, I think the 7 Habits of Effective People, I think that's really good. That really helped me with how I can manage my time, what needs to happen. So I would say that those 2 books were really good. There's lots others out there, I'm sure, that could be useful, but those are my 2 main ones.
Okay, thank you. Because one thing that I've struggled with is discipline. When you go to work, you turn your mind on, but then when you get off work, you turn your mind off. So it's always good to have a balance. And I think discipline and balance is the challenge that we with, especially, since we're in school, we're trying to manage our, work schedule, we're trying to manage our school schedule, we're trying to, manage our social life. So I think the discipline and the balance between work life and, school life and social life is what is the challenge. And I think these two books, because I've read excerpts from these two books. Well, The 7 Habits of Effective People. I've read that book, like excerpts from it, but I haven't read the whole thing. But I definitely agree that these are good books. I just wanted to know where your, mind was as far as books go, because I'm not a strong reader, but I need to eventually, to get the mind moving and grooving, especially if I hope to go into leadership, wherever it may be in the hospitality industry.
Right. But I like where your mind is at, Kiana, which is really to read, right, and get information when you need it. So often we get crossroads, or we don't know is we're trying to call a friend, or we're just going to sit and mope about it, or we're going to be like, I don't know. It's there's a book out there somewhere that's going to help you get the information that you need. So when I got into housekeeping, one of the things that I was not sure about is like, okay, it sounds simple, but removing stains off different materials is really complicated. Now, it's fascinating for me from a chemistry background, but now to know, what are the general things that everybody's using out there, the layman. Martha Stewart's book at some point, and I can't even remember what the name of her, she's got her home book that talks about stain removal and stuff like that. And it was fascinating to me, and it was very helpful. But little things like that everybody else is like, I don't know, we're going to have to replace the couch from 716 because somebody drank wine on it. It's got to go. Well, no, Martha Stewart says it doesn't have to go. We will figure it out, and we found a solution. Doesn't really have to, it can be in any area that you're going to read up, because you can get the information that you need to find answers to stuff. But I like the idea, or the path that you're on, that you can find something that can inspire you and give you answers.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, so we do have another student who wants to ask Ms. Ivy a question. Yi, if you don't mind unmuting yourself.
Hi, I just have a question. So you did mention that you spent nearly 20 years in the industry. So during that time, do you notice any changes, and how did you adjust yourself to those changes, if there's any, the changes in the hospitality industry?
Yes, yeah, there are changes. I think in my role mostly. Now with, things were pretty much the same before, but like now with COVID, is the biggest change is the ability to cross-train and be flexible in all areas. I think one of the few industries now that, and we had to make a very quick shift, because now our executive housekeeper can run the front office, can run, can do some accounting, can do, the team members that stayed on with the team were the ones that were able to be cross-trained, and were very flexible with being moved from one department to the next. So again, this is another stress that I want to put on whatever area you can work in, and as many areas as you can, and learn something. It's going to make you stronger in the role in hospitality. So I think the biggest shift now, we're very spread out as far as what our abilities and talents are. No one manager works in one area and just does that. We actually, can multitask and move in different areas, and everybody who has stayed on has been happy to do that. A lot of the team members that were not so comfortable, who were like, no, I was hired to be a controller, that's all I do, I'm not going to check in guests. We to those team members when things started to shrink down. We're like, yes, you're a controller, but at this point is we need you to help us check in some guests. So I think this flexibility, so the changes that have come in really are uh, mostly just having people that are very flexible and are cross-trained in different areas of the hotel. I think that's the biggest thing that's come into play now with COVID.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting conversation. Especially during now, I think it's more important than ever to be able to have that adaptability, to be flexible. Yeah. So
And I want to, and just to add quickly, also for me is just the climate in the with COVID is we're very much about cleanliness now, right? So there's a big push on just sanitizing and disinfecting and making sure that things are clean for our guests. It's a different setup that we've got going on. We want people to feel comfortable when they walk in through those doors. So there's a big push on that, not only just for our guests, but for our staff as well. We struggled at the beginning to put masks on because that's not who we want to smile, right? We want our faces to show. We want to, and having to talk to guests now and check them in, we had to find different ways of showing guests that we were here. We were bright-hearted, which is one of the cultures for HGI. But it was hard to do that with covering half your face. So we've had to change with the way our body language is, how we communicate with each other and our guests, so that we don't seem cold and offish. And so those other things have changed as well, just day-to-day operations because of COVID.
yeah, I hope we are not bombarding you with too many questions. I'm sure like
No, absolutely not.
very excited and like curious about what you do every day and also like your journey. So just to slow down a little bit, can you tell us your favorite thing about your position right now?
My favorite thing, I think, is just being part of a really hardworking team. Um, it's we have an amazing team. We've got great corporate backing, and our corporate team is very supportive. But I think coming in and being part of a team that is going, it's almost like you can feel to some extent how brothers at war feel when they're in the trenches or a battle together. So I think that my favorite thing is now when everybody realizes things are difficult, things are a little tight, but we're going to get through this. But everyone's attitude when they get in here and just the willingness to help and the willingness to want to be a part of the team, I think I really enjoy that the most. It really is refreshing to walk in through the doors and see bright-hearted, very positive, and very energetic team members who want to be here every day. It's very encouraging.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean. Like it's really like hospitality is a lot of times like teamwork, and so it's really important to be able to enjoy your time like spent around your coworker and just like working with them. Um, so a little bit of detour, but since we are participating in an event hosted by the National Society of Minorities in Hospitality, I would like to change our topic a little bit to, talking about being a minority in a big industry like hospitality. As a woman, of color with a successful hospitality career, what challenges have you faced and overcome?
Um, I think one of the things that I learned, Yen, was to celebrate myself, and not try to fit in or be like the guys. Right now, I'm a female GM on a team. My ownership has 8 other properties in the city that they own and manage, and it's white males. And I had a decision to make. Do I try and go play golf with them on Saturday, which I hate, and try to, have that conversation and talk about stuff that they want to talk about? Or do I say, no, I don't want to do that. This is me. I like chess. I want you to come and play chess with me if you want to spend time with me. Um, it was just to realize you are different. One of the things also that hospitality does is it encourages difference. Okay, so anybody from anywhere in the world, when you join up, that's what we want. We want you to be different. We want you to come from other areas, because we're welcoming and opening our doors to the whole world. And when someone can walk in through the doors and see someone like them, it makes them feel at home. So I try to have a very diverse team where we've got people from all over so that our guests are seeing someone who's like them. So difference is celebrated, and my team knows that I celebrate that with them and with myself. I think being yourself and knowing your brand and knowing what you stand for is the key. Trying to fit in and be like them or the guys or everybody else or whoever is going to be very frustrating very quickly for you as a female, especially as a Black female. It can become very, very difficult. So, and the guys, I find, enjoy the fact that I'm different. The conversation will go in one direction. The minute they ask me a question, it goes in a completely different direction because I'm not interested in that. We will talk about sport, and then they'll mention a name, and then I'll be like, well, I don't know what sport that is or what that person is. Let's talk about this. They enjoy that now. They're used to it. So I think when you have confidence in yourself and understand that your difference is important, and being different is celebrated, and not being like everybody else is celebrated, it gives you that confidence in knowing that, you know what, you can, especially when you're just good at what you do. You're good at what you do what you do, but you're going to do it differently, and that's what is wanted. We want to bring difference to the table in hospitality. So I've learned, be you and celebrate who you are, and enjoy being here, and be confident in who you are, because everyone else is going to be happy with who you are. Trying to fit in isn't going to work as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's something that a lot of us will find helpful along our journey in the future. Like throughout my like short internship being in a hotel, I do like recognize those kind of like trend, like having the industry kind of like dominated by males, uh, and like it was a little bit frustrating at first. Wow, like my hotel GM is the only like woman like in this like group of GMs, and I don't know that was something that I like find like um very like surprising, because I know that hospitality is an industry that welcomes and encourages diversity. Like you said, like we want our guests to feel welcome, to like feel that, oh, we have someone like yourself, like, working at the hotel, welcoming you. um so I just want to remind everyone, if you want to ask Miss Ivy a question, know in the chat box, and either type in your question or let us know if you want to talk. Um,
And I can tell you, Yen, really quickly also with that is, I see where my difference, and being a minority, being a female, being is used by the guys a lot to their advantage, right? Because there's certain times or areas where they need the qualities that I have that they don't have, to do certain things. So every race, every gender, everybody, you bring something different that someone else can't bring, and so that's important, and we want that. And I've shared this before. That when I was young, my mother said to me, she said to me and my sister, she said, as a Black female, you have a superpower, she said. And we were like, we do? And she said, yes. she says, your superpower is that you can float in and out of crazy without any consequences or repercussions. And we were like, really? And we were like, okay. And she said, but use it wisely, because if you abuse it or you don't use it well, you can get into trouble. And now I find that the guys, when they need somebody to have a very harsh talking to someone else, they'll get Ivy to do it, get Ivy to call them and talk to them. So they need it then, from me. And I'm like, okay, that part of me will work, and I'll get the message across and I'll get the message done. So there's qualities that I have, which they need at certain times, and they use that. So I bring something to the table all the time.
Yeah, I think that was a very much needed conversation. Uh, I do think that not only this doesn't apply only to like our female attendees on this event, but also our male attendees. Just, know your strength and use that to your advantage. And looking ahead into the future, with us being in COVID right now, is there any aspects of the future lodging industry that you are excited about, or and what does it mean for future hotel managers?
So right now we can see it that we are ready to burst. Our future is very bright. I can say that, even though we were the first to get hit and hit hard when everything came down in March, we are going to skyrocket and move up very quickly as things come back up. And we see it in our guests, that people still want to travel, people want to come and stay with us, people still want to have meetings, and we getting a lot of information, a lot of requests. We get, there's a lot of chatter. It died down immediately after the shutdown in March, April, nothing. And soon after, May, June, things started to pick back very slowly. We're nowhere near where we used to be. Our hotel used to run at 90% occupancy throughout the year. That's how busy we were. Now we're kind of on the 30% during the week, and then weekends we're 70, 80%. So it is starting to pick back up, but we see all that we have on the books and all the contracts that are being signed going into next year. So there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of light in the future. When we pick back up, it's going to be just amazing. And I know that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot of people within the industry. I mean, we've already now very slowly started trying to bring some team members back, because we're starting to see the increase in travel as guests coming back. So the future's bright. We're excited. Things we're thinking are not going to be full back where they need to be until about 2022. I think that might change a lot because of the vaccine coming in. Things might change quite a bit between now and the end of the year or the beginning of the year. Without that, we were looking at a full recovery by 2022.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm sure all the students here want to hear from you is that the future is looking good, and by the time we graduate, it's gonna be okay. Um, yeah.
Absolutely, and there's no fear at all. It's amazing how even the support that we get, right, from the government as far as just day-to-day operations. They understand the importance of our industry, and they have partnered and have been very supportive in pouring into the industry to keep things afloat. It hasn't been easy the last couple of months. It's been very difficult, but there is a lot of hope and a lot of light coming our way. So yes, please don't be discouraged. It's going to be great in the next couple of years.
Oh, and so this question is actually for myself. um, what is the best networking advice that you've ever received or you've ever like learned?
Best networking advice. Um, I think just to hold on to the information when, as you meet people, as you come across them, because one of the things also that you're going to need when we were talking, when Demetrius asked about, your way up, how do I move up quickly? And we talked about how sometimes you just need to do it. You're never going to be ready. Um, One of the things that needs to happen with that is to have a group of mentors on hand as support. So I can go in and interview for a job to be a general manager, let's say, but I've never been a general manager. So let's say, I've been a front office manager or whatever. But in my interview, when I tell the person interviewing me that this would be my first time being GM, but I think I have, what it takes to be successful. But I'm going to let them know I do have a handful of mentors and support, that people that I can reach out to. So having Dr. Cannon or in your pocket, or having myself in your pocket, or having anybody else's number, or to be able to go back to and ask questions is, I think, the best way of growing, one, that network, but having something that you can always bounce back to. Just know who in your industry, as you meet people within the industry, who are the good ones that you can always, have on hand to answer questions or help or guide, or you can bounce ideas off of. There's no one way to say this is the best way to network. It's as you meet individuals one by one, and they make an impact on you, those are the ones that you want to just hold on to, and you can use them as support, or people who can help you, navigate your way uh, through situations. I always tell the team members, say, you know what, I don't know how to do this, but I know where to get the answers. If I get the job, I know who's going to help me. I've got so and so, I've got so and so, I've got so and so, and that to me is very impressive, because then I know you've got resources, and those resources are invaluable when it comes to a new position that you're taking on.
That's a really good advice because a lot of times I would, I would get advice that, like find a mentor, but I never really understand like the impact of having a mentor or like mentors or just like people that you can go to if you have questions. Because yeah, the journey is quite hard and lonely sometimes. It's really good to have that kind of support to guide you in the right direction.
Right. During my interview to become GM at Northlake, I said, well, this would be my first time being a GM, but I know 5 other GMs on my phone, so how can I go wrong? And these are 5 really great GMs, so come on now, and at that point, they don't have a choice. So they knew what I knew, and it was kind of like, well, she's got the resources, so let's give her a chance.
So now we only have more minutes for our session. Is there anyone else who wants to ask Ms. Ivy a question? Okay, if not, then I think we can start wrapping up. Oh, Dr. Cannon, you want to add?
Well, I just wanted to thank Ms. Ivy sincerely for sharing such valuable information. I have to tell all of you that every time I have the opportunity to talk with Ivy Mpofu, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting or in a presentation like this, I learn from her. And just realize learning is lifelong. You're not the only ones just because you're in college. And, certainly she has shared how she's learned throughout her career. I've done the same, and it continues on. As she was sharing her suggested readings, I was writing them down, going, "Oh, I've got to look at these. If Miss Ivy said that these are good, then these have to be on my reading list." Never stop learning. And you just shared such wonderful wonderful advice, positive optimism. And we appreciate that. We appreciate your sharing with all of us and helping the future leaders, but helping our industry in so many ways as well.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure, Debbie. Really been fun being with the
I'll
team.
turn things back to Yen, but thank you. Thank you. And Yen, congratulations. You're a wonderful moderator.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. It's my first time. Was pretty nervous, but I'm glad that we have, all of you on board. That really helps a lot. And I know for sure that myself, I've learned a lot from this session, and I'm confident that other students feel the same way because our chat was very active. Everyone was asking for the books that you recommended, and like we were like throwing in links and stuff. So that was a very good sign. So as we wrap up our event, I would like to again thanks Ms. Ivy for spending time with us here today. And I'm certain that like me, other students really appreciate your helpful insights and also advice. For our attendees, if you want to join the National Society of Minorities in Hospitality and, and connect to amazing industry professionals like Ms. Ivy in the future, please reach out to my email as on the slide here. We're looking for student officers and also student ambassadors. And just a quick reminder, our office is going to be closed on December 21st and will turn on January 4th, every Tuesday and Thursday each week. With that said, thank you everyone for joining us here this morning. And if you have enjoyed our fall events, be on the lookout for more in the spring. Have a good rest of your day and see you again in 2021.
Thanks, guys. Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank
Great
you.
job, Ken. Very
Thanks,
good.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Ivy. Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.